This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop. We hope you enjoy the show.
Righto, good evening. Welcome to another issue of Tuesday Chinwag. My name is Leigh Chalker, the creator of the Australian independent comic book Battle for Bustle, published through Comex Studio. Now, let's talk about a couple of things, because across the bottom of your screen on that little yellow ticker box are two addresses, and those two addresses are where this show is streamed live. So in the first address, we have Comex. Now, Comex is made up of three little particular areas. The show is sponsored by Comex Studio. Now, Comex Studio is the publishing side of Comex, and it produces Australian independent comic books. It is also a shop. Now, the shop has a $9 flat rate. Now, that's not just for one comic book. That's for as many comic books as you want to buy. So you don't have to buy my comic book. You can buy anyone's comic book, anyone that tickles your fancy. There is also the community side of Comex, and that's bringing together like-minded people that just have a love for comics, want to talk some art, want to just shoot the breeze, learn a few things, and just meet some people that they've never met before, and just genuinely feel good and, you know, just spread the love of all things comic books. And there is also the Comex Network, which is the live streaming side of things, and that is what Chinwag is on. We have Friday night drinking draws, the Oz Comex show, and there is also how to make a comic book. So that's that. Now, the other channel there is Aussieverse. Now, Aussieverse is an Australian, how shall I say, pop and comic book and cultural site, which does interviews, comic hauls, custom makes, talks about comic reviews, does as so many things. It's also a wonderful community, a brother and a sister community combined together with like-minded interests, obviously. And it's always great to be on both of those channels and to bring this show to you. Now, the best thing you can do to support Comex and Aussieverse is like and subscribe them anywhere you can find them. And they're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on whatever place you can get there. If you find it, just press that little like button, press the bell, you know, because when you do that, it supports all the algorithms and things, and it's like a tree. So essentially, you're the water to the tree, because if you water the tree with your likes and subscribes, the tree gets bigger, and the branches reach out to more people, and that brings more people to the knowledge of Australian comic books, and that is what we want. Now, the show is based, for anyone that hasn't seen it, on who, what, where, when, why, and how. Sometimes we get through these things, sometimes we do not. I personally like to keep it as fluid as we can. I think fluidity is the best way to do things, and we go with the flow of where the conversation takes us. It could be high, it could be low, there could be tears, there could be laughter, who knows? We've got a couple of hours in front of us, and it's always good fun. Comments are always welcome. So if you do have any comments for myself, the guests that are on tonight, then feel free to fire away. Thank you, everyone. Woohoo to Kerry Harris. Thank you, Nick May, for saying g'day. And everyone watching at home, Spedsy, yeah, g'day, mate. How are you? And thank you for your continued support. So tonight, I'm pretty excited tonight because got a couple of, like there's three gentlemen here that, been doing the rounds with their comic book. They're about to, let me introduce them to you first, and I'll let them do the talking about where they are in the Australian comic book scene. That would be the best thing. Let them do the talking, and I'll do some listening. All right. So we've got the Mak brothers. Now we have Josh down there and Aaron. How are you, gentlemen?
Very good.
Very good. Thanks, Leigh. Good to be here.
No, it's excellent to have you. Very good, man. I'm very excited. And I have a great mate of mine, and absent-minded. G'day, buddy. And we have a great mind. Great mind. We have a great mate of mine, Mr. Ben Sullivan, up the top, and you will find out the trio behind the comic book Gods Among Men. Now, that is a Comic Studio book, and the Kickstarter is going to be launching pretty soon, I think, early next week, if I'm not mistaken. And that address will pop up sooner rather than later, whenever we're talking about it. If you have not jumped on there, press notify immediately. Get an email for when it launches next week. Jump on the back of these boys, because this comic book is pretty balls to the wall. I've enjoyed what I've seen about it. I'm looking forward to having a chat. Someone needs to shut me up. So I'm going to go straight to the Mac brothers. All right. So, gentlemen, hello to everyone. All right, boys. Now, we haven't had you on the show before. I've had Aaron. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to exclude anyone, but Josh, I am going to fire off at you first, buddy. So we're going to give you a quick fire who, what, where, when, why, and how, and we'll move around the room, and then we'll come into some conversations. So, Josh, who, man?
I'm Josh Mak, and together with Aaron and Ben, we're part of our production company, Nation Comics, and we're the creators behind Gods Among Men.
Very good. All right. So, what is Gods Among Men?
What? Aaron,
It's your turn now. I've done enough talking.
Gods Among Men is it's a new comic that we're putting out, and what makes it unique is that it's a true crime story.
Very good. I like that. I like that, man. Not, like, it's all good. It's interesting, What caught me was that I've a while back I managed to catch the first 8 pages of it, and it caught me. And I've spoken to Aaron about this. Just was very different. Also caught me off guard because I won't go on about it too much, but due to some of my history, which hasn't always been the most straight and narrow, there was a few things that I could situations and particular characters that I could identify with from my period of that sort of a lifestyle. And I think, like, it's always a breath of fresh air to have a little bit of truth pumped into not just comic books, but literature in general. So when I say balls to the wall, I commend you on that, man, because some people don't like to, see what's out there in the real world. Do you know what I mean? And I applaud you, man, for getting behind that and showing just what some of, life is about, man, because I was part of that life, and, it's managed to get myself out of it. But I'm glad someone's showing, like, those sorts of things, if only it opens people's minds to what other people go through and things. So, Bud, where are you both from?
We're from Melbourne, Australia, both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, born and bred there, local boys?
No, we were born in Singapore and moved here. Aaron was younger. I moved here when I was about 19, I think. 1920, something like that. Yeah.
No, beautiful, man. It's that's cool. We'll get onto that a little bit later. Now, one thing I'll just come straight into with you is, I usually ask this sort of question at the end, man, but I'm just trying to, we've got a little, there's a lot of guests on here tonight, and I'm used to one. So as I said, a little bit of fluidity here tonight. So people at home listening, and you guys, just going to have to roll with me here. I'm feeling pretty high energy. You can probably see my head going red like a light bulb, but that's okay. It's good energy. It's love. So that's what we want. That's all I'm powered by, brother. So we'll just keep rolling with it. Why did you, we'll come back to Omnibo's thing in a tick. What and why comic books?
Well, comic books were not our first choice. Aaron often says, I think comics chose us rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I'm a musician firstly before I got involved with comic books, and I always told these stories through songs. But there's only so much you can tell through a song, and even with a music video, it's not enough time. So originally, this was intended to be a film.
Yep.
And from a film, we realized, well, a film's too short unless you're going to make it, 10 hours. So maybe we're going to tell it through a TV series. So we began working on a script to shoot like a pilot. And we immediately ran into problems with how much that would cost and also the difficulty in shooting certain scenes, as you're aware of, with what you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So we shelved it for, a couple of years. This is not something new. We've been working on this story for probably the last decade.
Yep.
And what was it, during lockdown?
I think it was in 2021 that we began, because I think I mentioned this on a previous show, but I started getting really obsessed, buying up comics. And then one day, funny, I think I told the story differently in the past, so let me set the record straight. Josh was the one who came to me and said, since you're so into comics, you ever think about what if we did Gods Among Men as a comic? And then that was the spark that had us start, rolling in. I mean, I started thinking about, right, because of the visual storytelling opportunities of comics. And, we can kind of, we didn't have to worry about so many of the other, issues that we might have faced with film production. Like the comics gave us all this freedom to really tell the story exactly how we wanted to.
And when we started this idea, we knew nothing about comics.
I knew something. I knew a little bit.
You knew about reading it. You didn't know about making them. It's not the same thing.
Exactly. I knew about reading them.
That's like somebody saying, I know how to eat. It's not the same as cooking.
Awesome. Fight. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's what we want. Energy. Woo-hoo.
Drama.
Yeah, drama. Come on, man. Like, this is what we want. This will bring the viewers. Just drop one on him, Josh, just out of love, man, like just as brothers do.
There'll be a lot more of that. You should see when we're working on the storylines. It's arguments all day.
Yeah. No, that's, man, I argue with myself. I can only imagine what it's like to argue with, like your siblings. So it's like, that's cool, man. I do love hearing stories of like first-time comic books and stuff like that, creators and things, because I also like hearing that these stories and this story in particular has gestated with you for such a long time. That would indicate to me, just from my understanding of how I feel, and that story has a great deal of substance, because genuinely I think that if you've got an idea, like, I guess, to quote David Lynch for a particular moment, like, ideas are like fish. Anyone can have them, but it's the ones that hang around, like, and the deeper you go into the thought and the process and the story, the bigger the fish you catch. You know what I mean? So the longer you stay with the story and it just keeps growing and growing, the bigger fish, man, and that's a good thing. So there's a lot of substance from what I read with Gods Amongst Men, and certainly further on in the interview, I don't want to delve too far into how about you became familiar with certain situations, because that may be a pickles moment, but we'll get there, because it certainly is interesting, man. It brought back a lot of thoughts for me when I was reading it. So that's how I very much became interested in it, because I saw a truth in it. So I can appreciate that. And that's the best sort of storytelling, I believe, is truth. So, from where it's coming from and where, it begins. Now, I don't want to leave my great mate Ben out hanging up on the clothesline out there, because I'm talking to Ben. Now, Ben, how, in your words, did you come into contact with the Mak brothers? What brought you into, together?
It all came together. Aaron, you got it to me through Instagram, and that was the last time I used Instagram too. So you got me on the tail end of it all. I've got to get back onto it too. It's shameful, and I will. But we met up at a cafe somewhere near your way, a midway point, and I think I got there first, and I saw you waiting outside. Or I think I saw you. I thought I saw that could have been you outside, and there you go.
That's right, Gary. They are the ideal medium to tell tough stories. Sorry, Ben. Gary Challoner just said comics are the ideal medium to tell tough stories. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
So I dragged you in, Aaron, I think, into the cafe, and we sat down. And what did you show me first? I think it was most of the music that you do, Josh, and you were filming, Aaron. And when you say they have done films before, I saw that. And what these boys do on film is serious stuff. They know what they're doing. So when they say they could have committed this to film, my God, that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, we sat down and talked about the concept, which I think you said, Aaron, before that I got roped into the concept. I did, but I think it was the filming and the guerrilla filming you were doing with one of the videos that actually really sold me. I thought if you could do that guerrilla stuff, then you're serious, and I love that seriousness. So yeah, we spoke for we were there for a while, weren't we? And you outlined this concept, Gods Among Men, and another concept which we're going to do in possibly 5 years, which we can't talk about.
Hopefully sooner. Yeah, but
we've got a lot to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we'll do it.
Yeah,
beautiful, man.
We sat down with a coffee and a few concepts.
The seed grows, and I'm just going to confirm with the Mac brothers that I've had a couple of more than a couple conversations with Ben, and when you get rolling with some ideas, I would say Ben's one of my favorite people to jam with, man, and and riff with when it comes to ideas, because it just boom, 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 backwards and forward, breathe life into it. Things start. What was shade becomes like a real shape, and starts to get a real vibe and a flow to it, man. And heaps of fun, man. So I could just imagine the conversation, and I wish I was a fly on the wall, because Ben, what other than like the visual stuff, which guys we will get back to in a tick, because I'm super interested in talking to you about that side of stuff. When you saw the visual stuff, Ben, did you automatically in your mind just pick up what they were putting down, man? Did you think like, oh, I can see this, was it starting to ignite?
Not entirely. I think the first thing I saw, Aaron, and no insult here, was your drawings. I think you sort of, would I say storyboarded, maybe, I guess? But that
scratch, scribbled, caveman carved.
Yeah, drawings is wrong term.
You've proved yourself, Aaron, already. On the comic we did.
Yes.
With Sis, yeah.
Make a comic.
But apart from the video that they had, which showed a lot, I mean, there are other movies that they've made that point to Gods Among Men that they've done beforehand, which I'd seen. But I think actually there's a few things here. A lot of it came through in the script, most of all, I'd say. Josh is, if you don't mind me saying so, a beautiful writer. I'll say that. He puts words down just properly, I'll say, nicely, beautifully and meaningfully. And that came through in another story that you wrote, Light, which the extended version, I suppose you'd say.
Okay, right.
But a lot of that came through in the script as well anyway, which is a lot of you as well there, Aaron, as well. You wrote, I think, how did it work? You were dictating Josh in a sense?
I was a good copy paster.
Okay, we'll go chronologically. So before we even thought of a film, I started writing it as a book. which
that's what I meant.
there was no form to this book really. It was almost like a diary, just writing it out, like whatever came to mind, just write. And it was a mess because it didn't really follow chronology. It was almost like a Christopher Nolan film. It just jumped around all over the place. But from that is how we would then try to make sense of it and extract what we were going to do. And from those several chapters I wrote, we managed to develop a script for what was to be the pilot that we wanted to shoot,
which is now issue 1.
Yeah, which became issue 1 eventually.
And Ben got to see that was the opening and a few chapters. That was what you read. That was Josh's chapters.
Yep.
So each of your issues hello Dave, how are you, champion? That's a champion of a man, that fella.
Yep. That's
So
right.
each of your issues, Omnibo, I think the Mac brothers have the coolest hair in the business, just saying. So, I'm not going to argue, all right? Like, I've got nothing there, man. I had a shave. I've got eyebrows. There you go. Like, I'm not even going to put my eyebrow against them, man. They're looking too good. So just get me out of here. That's a pickle. There you go. Let's moving on. So I'm assuming that the issues or chapters of your book were based on what you would have had as episodes of it when you decided to think about a TV show?
Not exactly, because I guess, when you write it as a series, we sat down and thought how many episodes, how many seasons. We weren't thinking about whether we could afford it. We just tried to map it out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've said this before, but roughly, I would say the entire story takes place across 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So we thought, how do we condense 7 or 8 years, because there's so many stories within that time frame. So it was a matter of, which stories do we tell, what is pivotal to the thing, otherwise it could just run on indefinitely. So I don't know if the comic is going to be like one issue per episode of what it was going to be. The form might have changed a little bit.
I think it will probably be a bit more spread out.
Yeah. Is you were just mentioning also too that like we won't divulge like details, but there's other stories that Ben has said that he's read that you guys were mentioning are tied into Gods Amongst Men. So I'm assuming that like Gods Among Men is like your foundation, your main story travel line, and you've got other little worlds that you're trying to connect and root out. Is that something that's fair?
No, I think actually what Ben was referring to was, it wasn't called Gods Among Men at the start.
Okay.
The book was called The Way and the Truth in the Absence of Light.
Yep. Okay, that's cool. So what brought it to Gods Among Men?
How did that come about? I think so. Because the book was called The Way and the Truth in the Absence of Light, which is such a long title.
Yeah.
We just felt we needed something a bit cleaner and more concise. And Gods Among Men was a name that I had been toying around with for years.
Yep.
And we just thought this is the perfect opportunity to use it.
Yeah. Was that? I like it. It's a good title. I'm assuming that, like every title, it will become clearer as people read into the story what it is all about. I do have to say, Josh, I am partial to long titles. Like I like things like Charles Bukowski. What was it? Like if Max Barada's watching, he'll probably correctly quote me, but This Mad Life and Falling Through These Windows as They Cut Me As I Fall Down or something was the name of one of his short stories. I just always like those long, trendy things. So, there's a part of me that's a little bit sad that you didn't go with the big long one, man. So hopefully that comes up in a song somewhere that you crank out one of these days, dude.
I don't know if it's giving its stuff away, but it's all right, since we'll do it on Chinwag.
Yeah.
So that title is not getting thrown away. my previous band was called Cination, which is also where Cination Comics comes from. And because they were the medium that we used to tell all these stories through songs, that's why we kept the name for the comic company as well.
Yep.
And that title is going to appear on the second album we release, whenever that is.
Nice. I like it. Josh, thank you for that exclusive, man. You know, it's that's super cool, man. I really appreciate that and grateful for that little information drop, man. So nice one. You know, champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. See, this is what Chinwag is, man. It's fluid. You just talk about stuff, man. You know, you just roll. That's what we like, man. It's just rolling, you know. And with now, one thing, Josh, you are music's your thing. Now, I guess I'm focusing on you a little bit, Josh, at the moment because I haven't met you before now, and and I just want to pick your brain a little bit, man. So you're music orientated storyteller. So the music, and that title is going to be the name of the second album. So I'm starting to see that these things are all winding in together like a big ball of string, man. So, you know, like with your songs, when you're writing the music, is the music flowing into the story as well? Are there links between the comic book, the story, your song lyrics, how you writing tunes, that sort of stuff?
You just mentioned a term before when you said I was music
Music-oriented storyteller.
Yeah, I think of myself more as a story-oriented
musician.
Yeah. That's cool. Understood.
Even when when people talk about, I play guitar, and in my current band and Inscenation, I was singing and playing guitar, but I always saw myself as a writer first and foremost.
Yeah.
And even in music, that's a really big deal for me. I find that the lyrics are the most important thing, not the music. That comes second. Or to put it in another way, melody is last and lyrics are love.
I get that. That, man. Yeah.
I've always been telling the story through the songs. The problem is in a song, because of I'm constrained by the time, and you do have to stick to certain things like the melody and verse, chorus, stuff like that. Sometimes we don't, but most of the time you do. So I could only give you, not even tell the story, but give you a snapshot of an individual moment.
Yep.
I couldn't bring things in like dialogue or characters. So the songs on their own, you're not going to be able to figure it out. But the songs together with the comic book will expand further upon it.
Yes, very nice. So this world is building, and I like it. I like where you're going with this, man. It's good stuff. It's creativity is a beautiful thing, Josh. If you've never heard me rambling on one of these chinwags before, I am a massive fan of creativity and think that creativity is one of the most, other than love, obviously, because all about love with me, but creativity, man, is one of the most awesome and most important and integral things, I believe, that make people find, or allow people to find peace and allow people to find themselves, because creativity can get you through anything. I also like to just emphasize creativity to me doesn't just mean drawing and writing music. It could be being a chef. It could be being a swordsman. It could be being a sportsman. It's getting into that flow, that zone, that stream of conscience where you are just one. And that's exactly what you need to do at that moment. And you find yourself, you become whole for that moment. And that's what I love about creativity. And Josh, that's what I'm picking up from you, man. So I'm all for that. So when you come up with these ideas, Josh, I'm thinking that obviously, we haven't seen any fisticuffs here tonight, but I'm thinking that that Aaron's, like, to a certain extent, your sounding board, and is just to get a little insight into how the Mac brothers work. Is is Aaron the sort of dude that's sitting at the typewriter and he's madly tapping away while you're pacing backwards and forwards going, I got this idea and I got that idea, and Aaron's like, hang on a minute, man, like, is that how it works, or is it a calm over a coffee, like drop a few, like things, and that coffee goes, like, roll, man.
That's bang on.
Aaron likes to use this analogy, or he used to anyway. He used to say that I was like a natural spring and he was the fountain.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But recently I said to him, I'm not a natural spring. I'm more like, a steaming hot geyser. Aaron's trying to harness the power from it, but every now and then it burns him.
Yeah. Aha, gotcha. Well, a streaming hot geyser would be handy in winter. It does get a little bit chilly down there in Melbourne, so maybe moving on to the next issue, maybe you can do most of your writing in winter. Maybe that's a suggestion to like keep things better. Not.
It burns even in winter.
Oh no! We don't need that. There'll be an ambulance out the front. Creative session at the Mac brothers' house, and there'll be like bloody Victorian ambulance out the front having lunch, mate, waiting for someone. It's like, oh no, but no, it's lovely to see the two of you have got such a nice creative thing going on, man. And I do really love the fact that so much creativity is running through the two of you, and I can see you close, you know what I mean, which is good. So it's that sort of thing comes through your work too, from what I read as well. Now, what I do want to talk to you about is, we've heard from Ben briefly. We're not leaving you hanging out there, brother, up there on top. I'm not leaving you. Don't trust me. Trust me. When the burns were, hello, SK, how are you, buddy? Nice to see you. Thanks for watching again, champion. When the ambulance had left and the aloe vera had been spread plentifully across both of you and stuff, and you were calm, and milk was poured and the wounds were healing. At what point did you decide to, okay, Aaron, my brother, your artwork's not going to cut it on this one, man. Thanks for trying. I don't know if it is or not. I'm just going with what everyone's saying. I'm ripping here too. What was the point where you went, we need to find someone that's wicked good,
Straight away.
That was the very.
We never for a second did we entertain that Aaron was going to be illustrator on his comic.
I knew that from the get-go, and I think, although part of me was enjoying that process of doing up the storyboard, I knew I couldn't get to the level where we wanted to tell the story. So, yeah. So those storyboards don't cut it. I think storyboard standards.
I've got a story that sort of relates to this, but it's a bit of a sidetrack. Do you mind?
No, man. This is Chinwag. It's fluid, man. You go.
So, in my current band called Anna, we were looking for a drummer at the start of it, and Aaron had recently just started picking drums up as a hobby. And he came to me and he said, look, I don't know if I'm good enough, but I really like to try out for the band. And a couple of days later, we found this drummer. I saw a video of him and I showed it to Aaron and I said, dude, I don't want to break your heart, but just have a look at this guy and you're not even going to want to turn up for the audition.
Let's be frank. And Ben has seen them play and he's seen this drummer.
Hell yeah. He's a bloody good player.
The moment I saw that video, I immediately knew. I was like, there's not a chance in hell. And, and that's the part I think that people should be honest with themselves when they get put in these situations. There's things that I'm confident in. And there was that moment there when I knew, I'm like, I still like the drum for fun, but I'm like, I will very possibly never catch up to this guy, and he's a good friend of mine too, because he's still practicing and he's got that much, experience ahead of him.
I guess, we didn't have time to cross our fingers and hope that Aaron would develop a natural flair for drawing. So we started.
There was work to be done.
Yeah.
The hardest part was not finding somebody who could draw, because there's a lot of people in the world who can draw. They're all over Instagram, right? Same way there's a lot of people who can drum or play guitar, whatever it is. The first roadblock we hit was people getting uncomfortable with the subject matter. Reading the script and seeing what we had written down, and we felt if you're uncomfortable with issue 1, where this is going is going to get a lot worse for you. So when we found Ben and I met Ben, and I have to give Ben credit that Ben was so open-minded to the concept that we had. And, Ben has been so good at, listening to me tell the stories and really absorb that to try to get into that mind frame to be able to present what we're trying to do. So, yeah, a lot of respect to Ben for that.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the easy part, because the story is deeply interesting. So I'm just being pulled along for the ride in that sense, because it gets into wild places, and it's just fun for me. So I'm happy to be on board.
Oh, I'm happy you're all together. Just SK, thank you for hi Ben, loved your XCT work.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, SK.
Yeah. So I like the fact that that you did mention, Josh, that it's from being in a band too, and like Ben and I, do some work together, and chemistry between creative people is important. It's absolutely important. An organic vibe that just merges, like it's an energy. It's something that happens. With the topical nature of your comic book, I would assume that would definitely there would have been some red flags with people that were coming in and not comfortable with the topic, and one of the things, and I'm going to double down on your appreciation of Ben, is Ben ain't scared, and it's like, if you get it and it's story related, he's going to give it a go. And that's what I like about working with Ben, is if it's got substance, he'll give it a go, and he'll give it a red hot crack, and that's all you can do with things, man. And the artwork is awesome, as anyone that knows Ben Sullivan's artwork will know. An amazing storyteller in terms of pictorially, page layouts, etc. Top-notch stuff, man. There's a lot of Ben Sullivan artwork out there as well in the world, so do look him up. Hopefully sooner rather than later, Ben puts himself back onto Instagram and Facebook so people can see.
You guys can help me.
But it's going to be across over the course of the next month, etc. We'll get into this a little bit later too. And tonight we'll get the opportunity so you guys can see some Ben artwork for Gods Among Men as well. And the Kickstarter, as we were talking about earlier, does kick off early next week. So we'll get into some of that a little bit later. But I'm really liking talking about this creativity stuff, because I can't, I won't harp on about it too much, because I do want to allow you guys to have some conversation. But on Chinwag, I've had Aidan Roberts as an individual that does music and did a soundtrack to his comic Dead City Lullabies, but he did that himself. I haven't had the pleasure of two brothers that seem to be uni-minded to an extent in their creative process, and brought in an artist that was, like on point with them as well. One thing in the creative process I do want to ask, Aaron, with how you said your artwork and your drawing was like in a storyboard type sense, were any of those storyboards like given to Ben to say, this is what I'm thinking, and then Ben, you can answer this too, bud, if you want. Were there things that you know, like when you're reading the script, you did see in Aaron and go, I like it, and like, and vice versa, and came back? Because I know you like to talk, bud, when you're doing your artwork. You like to text and ring and like vibe it out while you're going. So
yeah. Well, Aaron, you're taking a lot of heat with your drawing tonight, and sorry about that, because that first storyboarding did actually say a lot. I thought it said a lot of the tone I was sort of gathering. I can't remember if you showed me that first day or after that first day we talked. I think it did, actually.
I think it was that was my whole thing with the reason why I did storyboards, was that and even back when when Josh and I were working together to make these music films, I never did the key purpose of my storyboards was just to be able to convey to, at that point in time, was the videographer, and then with Ben was I could see certain images in my head, and even though I didn't have the illustrative literacy to communicate that, I just needed to get enough of it through so that there was a visual reference, and then further elaborate on it with words.
Kind of mapping your way forward, I suppose.
Right, yeah. It's like a very crude map, but I think that's that thing where I guess a lot of the times, I'm sort of the intermediary between Ben and Josh. Essentially bridging. Sorry, I just got a low battery notification, but I'm gonna save this and make sure we're all. Like I think really sort of bridging that gap between the words and the images, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, man. Like, it's really good. Like, there's chemistry vibing between the three of you here.
There's one section, there's absolutely. There's one section you really did there, which is, I think, kind of covered the first 7 pages, I think, really. But I think that said enough of the tone of what the whole thing kind of was. And I guess that first 7 is a little different to the rest of it, but it summed up a lot, Aaron. So credit where credit's due. It was good.
Aaron's one of Aaron's strengths is he's really good at looking at it as a film. That's what Aaron and I have worked together on, is we always look at it as a film because that was the original intention. And Aaron helps to lay that out in almost the same way a cinematographer would look at a scene. And that's something that gives us a lot of very unique angles, or sometimes they become splash pages, which I think we've got more splash pages in issue 1 than a comic usually would have. But because we wanted to cram so much information, and we discussed it with Ben, and Ben felt that was, needed.
I love a good splash page, mate. It's like, don't you worry about that. Good splash page is never wasted, man. They're super strengths in a comic book, let me tell you. It's,
that was, at the end of the day, for us, it was that, my strength is always in a visual storytelling medium. So whether it was film or comics, Josh would tell me he would, the hot gazer would spit, very powerful but dangerous gases, and I would jump in and I'll go, okay, let's turn these hot words into the energy that is images, rough images, and then Ben would then turn those images into real energy that doesn't burn people and feels good, warms your house.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's it's, I guess that's part of the beauty of comic books, isn't it? You know what I mean? The fact that it will burn in people, but in their minds, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be some stuff that, I haven't delved too much further into what I read, because what I saw was enough for me. And I'm a bit of a comic book, I guess, classicist to an extent, where I actually like to hold the comic book, so I don't tend to read a lot of digital things. I do, don't get me wrong. I'm not like an egghead, tough sort of thing, but I like comic books. So I like to have that feel, and, like the weird thing where you smell the paper and you can analyze the art, it's just how I've always enjoyed comic books, the medium itself, the appreciative nature of it. and I'm really looking forward to seeing where the story goes afterwards. I guess, like, I don't want to take it in a a pickles direction. So please only answer to the level that you're all comfortable with.
Yep.
Now, it's a hard for people that don't know. It is a hard. It's a truthful story about addictions. It's a truthful story about decisions. Right, wrong, whatever those decisions are for the individual and the character at the time were made. And like, I'm not judging that character in the book at all. I'm just simply portraying to people that may be watching or have no idea about what Gods Amongst Men is. And some of those decisions are difficult to understand, but it was done and articulated in a way that, again, truthfully, from someone like myself that has been in those positions, because I've made it very clear to people that watch the show, I'm an ex-addict of alcohol and drugs. That's into my third year of sobriety, and these are truths that I also have to face. Is these things were in my past, and that's what drew me into the story. I guess, Josh, when you were initially planting the seed to this story, man, I'll focus on you because the idea seems to have seeded with you at this stage from the conversation. Why did you head down that darker alleyway, man? Like, why did you go down there? Because, I like it. I like the fact you've gone down there to shine some light, man, in this darkness.
Yeah.
So what was it that took you down there, man?
Well, I think first of all, I want to say it's not addiction is an element in the overall story. I don't think it's really a story about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
In not in the conventional way, but in some sense, it's kind of a love story.
Yep.
Just not in what people normally expect of a love story, but to me, it's a love story.
Mm.
If you look in the pages that you've seen in issue 1, we actually do give you glimpses at where this is going. I don't know how obvious they are, because they're kind of like little images or clues. It may not make sense at this stage when you read issue 1,
mm-hmm.
but it gives you a bit of a peek into where it goes. I decided to write this because for me, when I was writing music for the band, I always felt I wanted to tell stories that didn't get told.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my path and choices in life, for better or worse, I have been given insight into a lot of stories that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think as the series goes on, it might become a little more foreign and less relatable, but at the same time, people will be able to recognize things in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. I am waiting until Stu Thornton. Great work, guys. Well written and beautiful artwork. Good on you, Stu. Thank you for supporting the show, mate. I obviously there's even though you've taken the story off, as we will see in further issues, and the Easter eggs that you've said are planted in those first 8 issues that I've read. That's why I've chosen not to read any further, because I want it to grow, man. You know what I mean? And see where this thing goes. So from what you've just said there, even though comic books can take it off into certainly surreal and, existential places and things like that, the initial seed was obviously something very close to you from experiences that you've had, and you wanted to portray that in the Josh Mak way as best as you could.
Yes.
Fair? Yeah.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing, man. That's very good. Now, you've mentioned love quite a few times. It is love grows in the strangest places, Josh. You know what I mean? Like from, darkness, there's togetherness and wholeness, and meet people, and it's a beautiful thing. So, like I basically what I'm trying to tell people that are reading it is that when you see the Kickstarter address pop up, is press the notify button so that you can get the email when it launches next week. And there it is, gam.comic.studio. So it's going to launch next week, and we'll talk more about it because it's very, very good. And I do love comic books. You all know that. That's why I love Chinwag, and I do love meeting creators and peoples involved in the community. It's very important to me. But this one really did strike a chord. And maybe it's something, obviously, that I can relate to. But yes, I would strongly suggest, if you want to check out some good stuff comic-wise in Australian comics. I can only think of a handful of Australian comic books that I've read that are similar to this. I'm actually one that it reminded me of, Josh and Aaron, in particular, is there's an Australian creator that he's been around a long time, and his name's Bo Jardine. Was known as Beaumont America. He's had a few different names. He is Bo Jardine. And many years ago, and he spoke about it on a Chinwag I did with him, not the Christmas previous. He has done several comic books based on his real life experiences of his addictions as well. One called Pothead, and the other one was about I can't think of the name off the top of my head. If anyone out there can remember the name of Bo, or if Bo is watching, the name of your comic book, man, throw it up there now, because they were awesome comic books for people to look at onto that alleyway as well, man. And they resonated with much love as well. So, it's all about, sometimes you're on the bottom, man, but you can always get to the top. So there's always hope in that, which is really cool, man. And I like comic books like that. I like comic books that challenge people. I think if you challenge people, some people may be uncomfortable with that, but they see a seriousness in the medium, because it's just this is me just rambling. Sometimes I think the comic books, people that aren't really familiar with comic books see, and there's no, look, this is me talking. It's just no offense to anyone that likes these comic books I'll mention, but sometimes, like you got your Supermans and you got your Batmans, and the general populace that doesn't read, like comic books, generally associate, and Archies and things like that, they generally associate comic books with those sort of characters. And that is a beautiful thing. They've been around for a long time. There's many wonderful, great stories. I'm not absolutely taking anything away from those creators or anything that is given to those IPs over the years. I've got plenty of those comic books, but it is very refreshing for me to see people taking a chance and doing things that the average person that's never read a comic book before could read and go, damn, man, I had no idea comic books were about this. And if I reckon you can do that with your comic books and your creativity in any field, that's a good place to be, man. And I think that's what's happening right here with Gods Among Men. So that's what I would say to the three of you. I'm really looking forward to seeing where all of this goes, man. Now, to keep me quiet so I can have another sip of my ginger beer, we were talking before the show, and for all of those people out there that have not seen any of Ben's artwork, there's a couple of pages that the three of them have agreed that Ben can pop up on the screen when he's ready, and we'll bring up a full page, like a full screenshot, so people can see this beautiful artwork. And I guess we'll let the Mac brothers and Ben talk their way through the page and the flow, and give people a bit of a vibe, and so you can get a vibe as to what's happening. So whenever you're ready, Ben, hold it up. And
yeah, as you know, I am holding it up. It's not on the screen. I'm still Stone Age, so here it is. Manual. Beautiful. Well, that's one anyway. Sorry.
Look at that.
what this is what, page 7? Is that that's yeah. So this is before oh god. I was going to blank. Colorist Wilson Go has colored it. That's before he's had his skill, amazing work over the top. Yeah.
This was the very first page that we came together, and this was the very first page you did.
It is too.
And we were instantly, I remember when, this was after we had our meeting, and you had met Josh and we talked, and for some reason we decided to do page 7 first instead of page 1. And when Ben sent that over, Josh and I were like, wow, it's really beautiful stuff. Thank you guys. And it's true, Ben just did such an amazing, it blew our minds. Yeah, we saw that.
So get back to that point. When you first saw Ben, like right there, I want to know the Peria. You would have seen that page together for the first moment. What was it like seeing Ben bring you that? And keep those beautiful comments coming in about Ben's artwork. Beautiful.
No, I don't know what I was expecting to see. It definitely wasn't that. In the best possible way, that blew me away. Because I had seen it in a film medium for so long in my mind. I could only see it in this, realism setting.
Live action,
But Ben managed to. The beautiful thing that Ben's able to do is he can take a real scenario, but you're able to expand on it because you have that freedom in comics. And some areas you can overlay images or even put things down like what's in the mind of the character. And that page just blew me away, and it kind of gave us the heading for what direction we wanted to take in terms of style and how it will look.
Now, next question I'm going to ask you is who did that one out of the Peria? Like who's got that one that they pull Ben aside and go, "Hey Ben, I'm going to keep that page for myself, mate." One of you'd have to have that, because if like, mind you though, you got to watch old Ben. He likes to draw on the back of other pages too. So it's
he has that piece is just beautiful. Seeing in person.
Yeah.
No, that piece along with 2 pages is actually going to be up on our Kickstarter. We're going to make it available.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And so if you guys like Ben Sullivan art, and the word on the street is Ben Sullivan art is the hot new thing. It's not even new.
It's hot new, man. It's just hot. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it. It's guys I like, man. You know what I mean? Like, you think you're getting burnt down there at Mac Brother House, man. You wait till the poor bugger buys that piece of artwork, busts that out of the envelope. Man, boof, spontaneous combustion. Like, he gone.
Since we're showing off your art, Ben, would you like to show people the other page that's going to be available on Kickstarter?
Yes. Was it?
Page 1. Not the spoiler-heavy page 22.
No. Is that right?
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, that's it. I won't talk about it, but
you can.
Oh well, that's for a point of view from the shrine. That's where it all begins. Melbourne Shrine, looking out towards the city. What is that? East, isn't it? Yeah.
That's already more specific than we had down pat.
Yeah.
Oh right. well. Yeah. And of course, again, Wilson Go has done beautiful colors over the top of that as well. His work is awesome.
Yeah.
We're so honored to be able to work with such amazing artists who really took, this idea that has been developed for so long, and then being able to see Ben put down pencils and then inks, and then Wilson came in to do the colors, and it's like, I must say there was a moment when we received the first proof copy that, the tear just about comes to your eye, because it's not just it's almost not just a story, like when you've worked on something for so long, it's almost, oh, what was that?
Cool.
Oh,
Cool.
we are gonna.
Should
we show it? Should we talk about it? Yeah.
You can absolutely do whatever you like to do, gentlemen. This is your show.
I will say what it is. This is a proof that we received, and this is what it's going to look like. We received in the mail the Gods Among Men issue 1 foil cover. Would you like to show everyone?
Before I show it, this one is special because it's only available at
Supernova Melbourne, which we're going to be at April 6th and 7th. We managed to grab Sis all the way up from Queensland, and he's going to bring himself down here to our side of town. And Josh, me, Ben, Anna, who is she's a big part of the other comic that we're working on.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
and we're all going to be there at Supernova.
All right, so that's you guys coming in at the Melbourne Supernova, which is not this weekend, the following weekend. If
6th and 7th of April.
That's right.
yeah,
Yes.
and the whole GAM crew is going to be there, plus Anna, who we will while we're mentioning Anna, we will bring into people's consciousness the Anna comic book. But before we get there, just Ben's going to be there, and Sis is going to be there. So if you want to meet Sis, it's the first time he's been to a Melbourne Supernova and stuff with these boys. There's going to be a big comics community of people there and other creators that are there. So if you do like Australian comics, you want to meet Australian creators, you want to drop a couple of bucks and pick up a few comic books, there'll be deals, there'll be wheeling, there'll be things going on. It will be awesome, Dave. I would strongly suggest that get on down there and say good day to some people, because you know what? They're all really friendly. Hey, like I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of them myself, and they're good people, man. They just like drawing, they like talking, they like shooting breeze, and they're just ripping away, man. And they're shredding creativity. So go and support them so they can buy some more ink, so they can keep pumping out those pages and buy a new laptop, because poor Aaron there, like his keyboard's broken because Josh is just hammering him, like with like brotherly love and stuff. It's just one of those things, man. But no, that should be great, man. I'm really glad you're all getting together for that, because that'll be a big one. And there'll be so many things, because what I will mention before we get on to Anna is now I'll get Sis. Am I allowed? Just bring it up on the comments. Are we allowed to discuss the fact that there's a whole heap of sizzle comic books going to be down there, and you can get 7 comics for $55 or a $50 note? Is that better to ask? Just do it, and I'll beg for forgiveness later. So anyway, look, to get around all that, there'll be some specials there. So there it is, boom, on cue. It's magic. Right. So there you go, Comic Studio. Get all 7 of these comic books right there for $55 or $50 cash. Will get them for you, and that's the Sizztacular Sizzle Edition. So all of those people, you got Ryan Vella's Battery Hand, you got Deshaun Silver's Liza Ray, you've got Shaden Jew's No Man's Land, you got Peter Wilson's Foes, you got Max Ferrata's Stellar Lands, and you've got the Shane Sizzle, Kerry Harris character Sidrus, I guess compilation anthology storybook Sidrus. And guess what? Me mate Ben's in that one too. The man's everywhere. So go and get yourself just go and say good day, and pick up some comic books. But don't forget, pick up the Gods Amongst Men foil cover. And while you're there, talk to these dudes about Anna. Let's go. What's happening with the Anna comic book? How's that all work into things, gentlemen?
Well, since Ben's got the comic, Ben, would you like to start us off?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think this is yours, Josh, because this is really about the band
Okay,
music,
I'll
isn't
let
it?
Ben show you guys the front cover first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
So
good.
that is Anna right
My
there.
Ben Sullivan.
And that, yeah. Here
How
is
cool
Josh,
is that?
I'll say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the Ouroboros logo as well, which is
Which Ben drew.
yeah, that's a great concept, that one, for a logo.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
looking there and I'm seeing that's a limited edition comic book. Is that correct? What's that? 150?
So last year in July, we went out on a
music video.
music video.
What are we talking about?
No, we're talking about the limited. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry. Last year in July,
No, we should start with how it started.
I thought we should just touch upon this.
We'll come back to it. We'll circle around.
Look at this brotherly. Look at this hot gazer. Just
I like it.
I'll cut the long story short. We were shooting a music video last
No,
year.
let's go the long story, Josh. Come on, man. We're Chinwagging. Just let it all out, brother. We're all friends here. No one else is listening. It's just us.
the story short's still pretty long. So.
Okay, we were shooting a music video, and those of you who know the band know that we have masks that we wear when we're on stage. So Aaron was there. He was directing that video, and during a break, he looked at us and he said, "You guys look like a comic book." And that kind of sparked this idea, like, or maybe we could make a comic book based on this, because at the time we didn't have any merch. We played about 1 or 2 shows, and we didn't want to do T-shirts, but we knew we needed something to bring to the shows. So when Aaron said we look like a comic book, that idea and the fact that we were already in the process of
Making one with Ben.
Yeah.
Gods Among Men.
kind of halfway through Gods Among Men at this stage, we thought, okay, let's try to develop some ideas. So I had to think about it. And I told Aaron, I said, that's a great idea. I think I've got a story for you.
Can I describe how this went down?
Okay.
So literally, I said, I brought the idea up to him and Anna. I said, what if we did a comic book? And then they were just heading out to the shops, and then they went, yeah, let us have a think about it, a brainstorm. They were out of the house for like 20 minutes. Josh comes back and he looks at me and goes, I've got it. I'm like, well, you've got what? And he goes, the entire concept. And I was like, wow, are you serious? And that's how the thing started to unravel.
Yeah.
Hot gaze.
This, man, you get struggle. Well, it's hot, man. It's this is good. The I'm just trying to think. So you got that, and that's your merch for your band.
Yes.
Now at this point, you're halfway through Gods Among Men.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to come back to Josh. You are the storyteller that is a musician with lots of ideas and obviously very visually orientated from the looks of your masks and the layout of your band and your stage presence, etc., like that. So visually, you're humming there, man. You've obviously know what you like and what you want. That's cool, man. That's a voice. I like that. And then I want to move, but you said earlier that you weren't essentially comic orientated to begin with, but Aaron was reading a lot of comic books. So I'm going to quickly sneak back into this little zone. Aaron, your comic books, man. What struck you? Why did you go out and get a comic book? What was the first comic book that you picked up that blew your mind, that led you down to this path and onto, like where we're headed?
I thought about this. So again, although he said he's not comic book oriented, I was first sort of, I guess, turned on to the idea of comics through him, because he used to tell me about back in the day how he used to try and collect Spawn comics growing up. And they were really hard to collect. And he used to tell me about how he was obsessed with Spawn. I think still is sort of. But then, so I went online and, went on Marketplace.
I don't know if you can say I'm obsessed. I don't think I've read more than 10 issues in my life.
I think he was fascinated by it, especially because in Singapore, it's quite a sort of like conservative society. So then you've got this thing that's like hell and, he's violent and he's doing all these things. So it's kind of like frowned upon reading material. So all I had was this nugget of Spawn. So I went out and I found just any Spawn issue. And the issue I first managed to get my hands on was just on Facebook Marketplace, was Spawn issue 5. And
Billy Kincaid. That's the Billy Kincaid issue, the Iceman.
Billy Kincaid issue. Here's of Billy Kincaid. And it just blew my mind that was it 1992, 93?
Ice cream. We all scream for ice cream. I bought that the day it came off the shelf, man. I'd never read anything like it. I was about 15 at the time. Blew my mind.
Yeah, I felt it hit me pretty hard because I didn't get it at the time. I got it, sort of now when people are a bit more desensitized. But when I read that, I think maybe that kind of planted the seed for Gods Among Men in a way of like, this is what comics can be.
Yep.
Comics can be flashy, comics can be all sorts of different, genres, but comics can be dark. And you could actually explore such grotesque and, taboo topics through this medium of comics. And in a way, it was kind of, I guess, easier to swallow than just watching a film.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'd say it was Spawn issue 5, Billy Kincaid, that I was like, wow, this is really something.
Well, I can tell you from buying that, I'm actually absent-minded. I love that, how it all started. Hey, good on you, mate. When I bought issue 5, and I can tell you, I was at the Warina newsagents, and Warina is in a suburb here called Kurrajong, and I was collecting comics voraciously, riding around on my push bike and backpack, stealing my dad's silver and gold coins and stuff out of the washing machine, like to subsidize my, first obsessive addiction of comic books, man. And I'd have these, I had my map laid out from where this servo would sell this and this newsagent would sell that, blah, blah. And I went to Arena this Sunday morning, and there was Spawn issue 5 in a newsagent's, man. This is where I bought it, right? And the Spawn was initially released in newsagents. That's how I got it in Townsville, because there wasn't any, bona fide specialized comic book shops. And I remember picking it up, and I remember going home, and I remember reading it and just going like, whoa, okay. And my dad was the comic book reader in the house that got me into comic books. He loved Spider-Man. Todd McFarlane did Spider-Man. Dad loved Todd McFarlane for this. Then Todd McFarlane went to Spawn, so Dad followed me with Spawn. And I remember Dad reading it after me and going, I've never read anything like that. I don't know if that's wild. That blew his mind at the time. And it was during that week, and people listening may confirm this with me, it was during that week that there was a TV presenter on Channel 7, I believe, and his name, he was famous dude. I think he might have passed away now. If he hasn't, sorry, but hey, it's just part of the story. But his name was Darren Hinch, I think his name was, from memory. He actually had a segment on his, this show was like a current affair, man. So 7 p.m. to 7:30, boom, prime time, Monday to Friday, all of the big issues nationwide, a bit of a shock jock on TV, telling people how it was. And one of his 10-minute segments was Spawn issue 5. And he brought that up about how it should be banned in Australia. It was a disgrace. Kids shouldn't be reading this. Parents, rah, rah, rah. And I remember sitting there watching it. And, as a kid, what I was thinking? Oh, man, let me get issue 6. You know what I mean? And that's, for me, how I was thinking about it. But it is, man, like you said, at that time, in my memory, being a young fella, that was a really wild comic book, man, and ballsy. And that's something that I admire about people that take chances with their art, like this is the Chinwag. This is how it all rolls around with points and stuff and the flow, mate, So very, very cool. what else, you know? And, Singapore. When you said you came from Singapore, Josh, and Aaron just said, I guess it's a bit more of a, how will we say,
Conservative.
conservative. Yes, yep, conservative place. And you were reading Spawn.
Yep.
Did you find with your move out of Singapore, was that also relate? Possibly, there's many reasons, but in this case, was it related to a creative geyser that you had going, for lack of a better description, at the time that you may not have been able to feed in Singapore, that you had to get out to express yourself differently in Melbourne?
Yeah, I think I'll start with my Spawn journey. And I think it was around 96. And the first issue I ever got was actually Curse of the Spawn 8, I think.
Yeah.
That suture on the front cover.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to it. They were pretty expensive, and I didn't get them until a few years later because, it took a while to get to Singapore, and there weren't that many places that did stock them. I think there was like one comic shop in the whole country where you could find it. So that really blew me away. And then I started buying a few issues later. I never had them in sequence. It was kind of what they had in the shop at the moment.
Yep.
So I wasn't really able to like follow a story or anything like that. And at the end of it, I probably only had 10 comics. But those 10 comics I read and reread and really liked everything about it, from the artwork to the writing. I never really liked other comics.
Yep.
Some of my friends were into it, like X-Men or Spider-Man, which I had like one or two, but none of them really grabbed me the way that Spawn did.
Yep.
And that's why all these years later, I was still banging on about it to Aaron. But Singapore was very restrictive it's not a great place to be any sort of creative.
Yep.
Because it's more about fitting into the mold. And if you don't, you're kind of ostracized by everyone. It didn't really bother me. I didn't really give a shit when I was there. You don't make a lot of friends that way, but I never really felt like I needed a lot of friends.
Yep.
So that wasn't a problem. What was a problem was it was really hard for me to find an audience or anyone really accepting of what I was trying to do, except like 2 or 3 friends that I played in the band with.
Yep.
So when our family moved to Melbourne, I didn't really, feel upset that I was leaving. I kind of saw it as, finally I'm going to get a chance to do the things I want to do. Of course, it wouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
But that's the journey.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. That's really good. And look at where you got now. All that like creativity is just flooding out of you, dude. No, it's wicked. It's very good. It's here we go. Dave died. Darren Hinch is still kicking. He may go for mayor in Melbourne at the next election. Well, Dave, yeah, thank you for letting me know. I wasn't sure because last I heard of Darren, old mate there, that he had a lung replacement, or I don't know, like some sort of internal organ was removed, and like look, something happened to him, and he wasn't looking too good. So I hadn't heard anything more. So I hope that they're, obviously not retired if he's going for mayor. So yeah, well, good stuff, Darren. Like stick it up on mate. That's really cool, man. That you got out of there and firing, mate. Now, the Anna comic books with your merch, and is the story related to your visual context with Anna, like with the masks and everything? The comic book there, yep. The comic book, is it related to the story of the band, or have you created characters of the members of the band? Like, trying to think, how like you're Josh Mak here now, but there you may be, like Alpha Centauri 1 on lead guitar or something, and that's the character, like a Kiss type thing. You know what I mean? Have you created that sort of character?
Well, the comic is obviously fictional, as when you read it,
Or is it?
but it kind of creates this story of the band,
Mythology,
yeah, if you will.
Yeah.
Kind of explains why we have the mask, who Anna is. We've kind of appeared out of nowhere. It expands on a bigger story, and with every album that we do, we plan to have at least one song that further explains the stories within the comic. So for our upcoming EP release is the song Ouroboros, which is also the logo that Ben drew for us. So if you read the lyrics of that, it kind of expands a little bit more on the story.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Because now, just from jumping on Facebook the other day, today, plug it while we're talking about it. You have a live thing happening very soon about your new film clip coming on Facebook, YouTube soon. Something to that effect. Is that correct?
Yeah. So on the 29th, so midnight 29th of March, the EP is released, and about 3 days later, I think on the 3rd of April, the third music video will debut on YouTube and Facebook and all of the social media sites.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, while we're talking about Anna the band, because we don't want to get confused either with Anna, Josh's wife, because it's all tied in together. But at this point, we're talking about Anna, the musical entity.
Yeah.
That must be super exciting, that EP coming up and the launch. So the visual side of things with the film clips, that comes from you as well, man? That's you talking with Aaron, or is that someone else that's come to you with the concept of, I think I could add this to you guys for this song? How did you work with that video production side of things?
The first two videos, Aaron, myself, and together with Anna, my wife.
Yeah.
Not the character.
We sat down together, the three of us, to discuss how we wanted the video to look, and we worked together. Aaron directed it. Anna came up with a lot of the ideas, and I will kind of sit around and throw my 2 cents worth in every now and then.
Yeah.
That's the first two videos. The third video was different. The third video, a very good friend of ours, and he's a really successful photographer, videographer called Peter Colson. He's got a massive YouTube channel where he does tutorials on photography and videography. And he's also a very close friend of Anna and myself. So we've always wanted to work with him. But because he's so busy and he's constantly traveling all over the world, we never really had a chance to do a project together. So this was the first time we finally managed to catch him while he was in Melbourne. And we went to his studio and we said, we want you to do what you do because we've got full trust in everything you do. This is the song, you shoot it however you want. And yeah, he did an amazing job. He shot it and edited it, colored it, did everything.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
Like his work efficiency is amazing. Like watching him on set. And even at one point he turned to me and said, Aaron, would you like to help me with the lights? And I was like, oh, sure. Bit of a fanboy moment. But yeah, no, he is like amazing to watch in action.
Yeah, I think, man, I obviously the pair of you, and it's tied in with Ben. You communicate well visually, what you want, what your ideas are. You've got a voice to what you want, creatively. Like Ben is the same. You seem to be in I would say an attracting phase, man, where you're putting out good vibes of creativity and like-minded people are being sort of pulled to that magnet, you know what I mean? Which is a good thing. You seem to be working really intuitively as well, which like you just mentioned that the dude that did the video for part 3, you'd met him, you knew him, you liked what he was doing, you trusted him to, this is what we're about, boom, lay it on me. You've basically said the same thing with Ben. you had the opportunity to sit down, you spoke to him, you communicated clearly what you wanted, showed a few things, you know what, vibe, pick it up, this is what we like, man, you go. Intuition, man, it's a good thing, you know, like, and you seem to be rolling with it at the moment. So I'm thinking that, you know, you got some good positive stuff happening around you, man. So I like where this conversation has been going tonight, because it's all about positivity.
I mean, I feel a lot of things that I do, you know, if I want to work with an artist in whatever field it is, I tend to, the person that I pick them because I like what they do.
Mm.
I think I'm the same with my guitar company that I work with, and also even down to things like when I got my tattoo done on my arm, I picked an artist because I liked his style.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of tattoo artists complain that people come in and they go, I want this, or can you do a Mickey Mouse? And that's not what they do.
Mm.
I tend to go to a guy who I like his style, and I give him, you know, the basic elements of what I want. Like, I want a crow here, I want a clock here. But however he draws it, I said, draw it in your style. That's why I came to you. I'm not gonna nitpick on little details like that. Same thing with Ben or with Peter. The reason I want to work with them is because I'm a fan of what they do. So I'll give you the framework, but I'm not gonna micromanage the details of it.
Yeah, that's, I think, man, from like myself, as an artist and a creator, and having worked with Ben, we worked on a project with a couple of our mates last year and the year before, and what you've just said there is what attracted me to working with Ben and Ryan and Spedsy. Was it's there, the foundation is there, this is what we want, but you know, you got plenty of room to play. And when you give that other creative person room to play in that sphere, it's amazing what can grow out of that, man. You know, like the added to it and things, you know what I mean? I think that's a good headspace of creativity to be in when you're like collaborating with people. You know what I mean? I don't myself, I don't really like the micromanagement side of things. That I'm not really, that doesn't draw me into a project. You know, no offense to anyone out there that likes to work that way. If we were all the same in the world, it'd be a very boring place. It's just that's how I, you know, like see creativity is like, you know, like letting it. It's all about flow, man. Feeling good. I like what you do. Let's rock and roll. You know, that sort of thing. But I tell you, Josh, my next question: would you let Ben design you a tattoo? Do you like his stuff that much? You let him do a tattoo for you. Seeing you're talking about tattoos.
Yeah, if I ever do another one, I'll have to do the current one first. It's been held up in production for years.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I think Anna and we answered an interview where somebody asked us if we'd ever tattooed the Ouroboros logo, and we said something silly like if we got 10 million views, we'd both get it tattooed. So
on the face.
Oh yeah, right.
All right. So how many viewers have you got?
We've got over, was it like 15,000 or something?
You're racking those numbers up, man. You know, before you know it, you'll be sitting down over your cornflakes and the alarm will go on your phone and you go, oh no, like 10 million, we're off there.
I don't actually remember what number I said. I'm just guessing it's 10 million. I got to find that interview somewhere around.
Yeah. Well, with the amount of creative stuff you're pumping out, mate, it'll probably, you want to hope it's 10 million, because it's like if you only said 1 million, you might be hitting that in a couple of weeks, dude. So the next time you're on a chinwag, mate, I won't recognize you. You'll just have a bigger thing around your face.
We said we'd get it. You didn't say where, so you know it could be on the bar.
Right. Oh, so that was Aaron just throwing that out there around the face, was it? All right. So Max, an Ouroboros is a snake that eats itself to stay alive, sort of like us creatives, using our own lives to create stuff. That's nice. Is correct. So there you go. Max, where were you when I needed that direct quote of Charles Bukowski earlier, man? But that's a good one too, Max. Thank you for supporting Chinwag and thank you for watching. That's another comic studio creator, and he does Stellar Lands. So check that out. There's an upcoming Kickstarter happening for issue 2 in the next month or so as well. So keep your eyes notified on ComX. There you go, stellarlands.comx.studio on cue. It's magic, man. Sis and I just like pump fire and like fireworks out of each other's fingers here. It's insane. Like, where is this happening? You know, I don't know what's going on. It's like it's all vibing. But anyway, right. So let's get into. Let's talk about your Kickstarter that's happening next week, because there's going to be people interested, and we can keep talking and vibing and that, but we'll just move on to, what do you got? You've got like some things coming up. I see there's like trading cards, and you've got your comic. You've got the Supernova coming up next week, and you're going to have the foil cover. I mean, now is the three of you chance to absolutely plug what is happening in the course of the next 14 days for your creative work together. So, fire away.
So, see, straight away at this point, technical side, right? So obviously we're gonna have available on the Kickstarter print copies, which you're gonna be able to get access to basically the story. We do have something a bit different, a page in there, which is gonna contain 3 QR codes, which are going to lead you to external media, because we really wanted to weave this whole thing of this multimedia thing, that this hunt, right, for different clues, I guess, in our real world that will, reveal a little bit more about the wider story. So that's why you should follow the white rabbit. Anyway.
Head down the matrix. Well, that's better than playing that Pokemon game where you used to stick your phone up and chase things around. So there you go. Well, I just went with it. We were talking about Harry Potter before. I'm thinking
Harry Potter, Pokemon. This is what the kids love.
Yeah, well, like this is how it happens, man. This is Chinwag, the power of the Chinwag.
So we're gonna have the print copy. We're also offering. So we wanted to do something that was like trading cards, but we're calling them collector's cards, because we wanted to create something that was not going to look cool and something you want to collect them all. But every card contains a character, and in each card is going to contain a little tidbit of information that's not included in the comic book.
Yeah.
So the whole concept is that these cards, each of them are like mini data books. So if you get the cards along with the comic, you're going to get that extra little sneak peek into, the wider story, and also stuff that will be revealed later on.
Yep.
One of the other very special covers, which is going to directly involve Josh and I and Ben as well, is we are doing a special hardcover edition of Gods Among Men. Right on the money.
Hardcover. He's obsessed with them, that Omnibot.
Phenomenal. I knew that was gonna. That's like the sweet honey. So the unique hardcover. It's gonna be the comic, obviously with the hardcover. But what we're gonna do is it's gonna feature a handwritten foreword that is written by the main character, Jason Leigh.
Yep.
And it is also going to include every copy is going to include a unique remark by Ben. Ben will do a custom little sketch. And there will also be, again, every copy is going to get something different. A little written Easter egg in the back. And that hardcover is going to include a unique QR code that's not in the regular print comic. It's going to take you to a video. And I can't say much about this video, but it's going to really place Gods Among Men in our real world.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
When Josh gestated the idea 10 years ago, and you were bouncing this around, what did you ever think that it would get you to this point?
Nah,
not even in the slightest. Truth is stranger than fiction. We couldn't even have written this pathway for us.
This wasn't in the plan at all.
Mm.
But what we are, we went different routes to try to get where we wanted to go. This surprised us, but this has allowed us to kind of make use of all the things that we have laid the groundwork for over the years.
Yep. And how many like you've obviously got scripts and you got Ben sitting up there like just hanging, you know what I mean? Like, and Ben's probably got other pages done because you don't seem like a pair down the bottom that would be idle by any chance. You like to see look like you're moving. So I'm thinking Ben's the same, and I reckon Ben would have a few little sneaky pages tucked in over there for future stories, which is good. So, what overall story arch-wise are you ongoing, limited series? You got any issues, numbers in store, or right now we just focus on one, we nail that out, it's looking good, and we see where it goes from there? What's your plans for the future after this? Because I would say it's going to kick some bum, you know.
We've got a lot of plans. I think executing is just what's taking us time.
Yeah.
With Gods Among Men, what did you say you estimated?
Okay, so ongoing series, and from my comic knowledge, I would estimate. I had to do the voice.
From my comic knowledge,
My comic knowledge, between 150 to 200 issues to tell the full story that we want to tell, because we know how it ends.
Yeah.
We know every arc, every plot point, and how it ends, and it's just the details in between.
And wow, that's a lot of comic books. That's a lot of story.
It's it's a lot of story, but we've decided to make things even harder for ourselves because
as creative people do. Yes.
Yeah, we're simultaneously also doing Anna. So far, what's happened is we've had to pause. We paused Gods Among Men production because we had to get the first Anna issue 0 out, which was a limited release. We call it issue 0 because it was only 6 pages. It was 6 pages long, so it was just kind of like a teaser into what's to come. Because we needed something for shows really quickly, and we printed 150 copies. We numbered all of them. And I think we've almost sold all 150 out now.
No, we are down to the final 10.
Okay.
There you go. Now, are those final 10 going to be available as extra, like add-ons in the Kickstarter, or are you going to kick on a new print run with Anna with some extra pages or something? I imagine it's all going to be tied in there, possibly.
So, at the moment, the Anna comic has only been available at our live shows.
Yep.
We are doing a second printing. The difference with the second printing is that it's been recolored by our colorist Wilson Go.
Yep.
And so far, we've only sold them at live shows. We've kept it that way. That's the only way to get hold of one, unless you're a good friend of ours, and then we make an exception.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is at Supernova, we're going for the first time make the comic available, issue 0, second printing, to people outside of the live shows.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's really good. So will there be any, well, obviously your first printing's that limited to the 150 you were talking about. So your second print, there'll be a definite distinction between both of those printings, even other than the indica that's on the inside of the cover. So people will be able to look at it and go, oh, first printing, that's so cool. Second printing. Because, there's a lot of collectors out there too, man, I really like the idea, though, that at the time you were saying you didn't have any merch, you were into your second gig, and you're thinking like, we got to get something out, man, to give to people and stuff like that, And I do, man, I love the fact that Ben is like just, doing this stuff too, man. Like, look, I got a soft spot for Ben. All right, I can't help it. Okay, it's promote Ben until I am blue in the face. All right, like he's just one of my very, very good mates in the Australian comic book scene and community. And I don't want to be biased at all because I love everyone, and every creative out there. But Ben, he the man. So it's it keeps me on my toes, that bugger. Let me tell you. So you should be very, very proud of what you got happening, because you're doing multimedia stuff. You got artwork happening, which is a great thing, because there's collectors out there that and Ben's artwork is pretty. I would say, Ben. Well, while you're here, Ben, let's talk about that, Ben. Because a lot of your artwork, and this is just me talking to you because we're just talking. I know, I've said to you about some, Ben, remember that drawing you did, man? Oh, can I swap a drawing with you? And you're like, well, I'd give it to you, but I can't. And I'm like, why? And you're like, there's like another comic book page on the other side of it. Oh, no. So
I get in trouble with it.
Yeah, so Ben is like myself, I guess Ben it wouldn't be wrong to say we're a little bit appreciative of the spiritual side of the world, and like nature, etc. And we like to watch our pennies, because we are artists and creators, and we like to recycle and not waste paper as such. Let's not beat around the bush here. We could even be classed as a little bit tight, okay? But that's okay. Okay, it's it's how it is. I use pencils until I get down to there. When you get those pencils, Ben, and they don't sit in that knuckle of your finger there. And
I can't do that. Now I've got something to remedy that. It's one of these, like where you. I can't remember what it's called, but you stick it in and extend the pencil, so you can go right down to the nub and keep going.
Yeah. Hey,
I got them all here, like all these nubs in there.
Yeah. I knew you were the man to talk to help me out of a bind there, man. I've got all these nubs of pencils like sitting in a box over there. I'm like, what am I going to do with these? I don't want to waste that stuff. But so what you've got is pages of Ben Sullivan going to be for sale on this Kickstarter, and they don't have anything else from the sounds of things on the other side of them.
No. They don't.
Ben, why are you just having a little flick down there? I saw you down there to the left, man. You just go and just lift that corner and double check there, man.
I've seen. Oh no, you go, Ben.
Oh, every week I get 3 pages of A4 and cut those in half, so I got 6 for the week.
Yeah.
And if I have to go over, then I got to flip over to the other side, because I'm not going to the shop again, because I'm lazy and tired. Both.
I don't know, man. You were telling me the other day you've been going to the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you were telling me.
Well. Yeah, that's not lazy.
Mate, these two fellas down here must be rubbing off on you, because it's like,
yes.
Look how tough these are. Unbelievable, man. Perfect. Hey, perfect creativity, specimens, good dudes too, enjoying the night. Now, that's a great thing to be able to get some Ben Sullivan artwork too. So, basically all jokes aside, I guess what I'm trying to say to you is it's like, you don't have to worry about not being able to, because he doesn't give it, make it available very often. So one side of supporting the Kickstarter is to be able to jump on some Ben Sullivan original artwork. And, I'm lucky enough to have some of that, and it takes pride and place in my house. And because I had to keep it, because it's like I'd inked over it. So it's like, so I'm lucky like that. But you could get lucky too by supporting the Gods Among Men Kickstarter on gam.comx.studio, gam.comx.studio. And you've seen a little bit from what the boys have said about the bits and pieces and extras you can get. There's creativity flooding out of here. I like the fact that, what's the age difference between you two? Josh, you were saying Aaron's a little bit earlier before, because you're real in sync with each other. So is it close, or
should we make Leigh? Oh, I thought we were gonna see if Leigh can guess it.
So 10 years, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, right. So Yeah, that's cool because you are very in sync with how you're working in that. And I can see how, what's that, Aaron?
I'm 10 and he's 20.
Fair dinkum, man. My
Sure.
God, you've developed well for a 10-year-old. I mean, have a look at you, man.
They're the same size as a 10-year-old.
No, unbelievable, mate. It's I'm sure I've seen a photo of you drinking beer, man. God, they breed them tough in the Mac brothers family. It's like 10 years old out drinking beer and, doing things out in the nightclubs, man, partying on with your brother and his band and stuff like that. Wowzers, man. That's some tough stuff going on there. Now because Ben's busy and I'm glad he's like pumping and stuff. Aussie Bo, this is the first Kickstarter. I'm going to go for the ultra best, most expensive tier. All right.
Yeah. Right.
While we're talking about that, why don't we let Bo know what is the most expensive tier, Mac Brothers? Because I reckon in Townsville, I will hear Bo moan from the, now that he's promised, because let's go. What is it? Let's have it. What do we got?
So technically, the most expensive tier possible you could get is if you grab one of the tiers, which is Ben Sullivan's original art, which also includes a print copy of Gods Among Men, and and that goes for $200. I think for Ben's that we're really it couldn't get a better deal than that. And if you added on a hardcover and a full set of collector's cards, I don't even think that's $300. So I don't see why you wouldn't.
We're making a new $1,000 tier just for the Bo. See, look at the magic happening here, man. Bo, it's called, man, live stream. You've signed up for that. You can't take it away now.
For $1,000, we will come to your house, cook you a meal, and I'll give you a
soul. There you go.
Yeah, but I've already cooked for Bo.
Oh.
I reckon that's brilliant. I think that's a really good deal, to be honest with you, for some Ben Sullivan stuff and some God Amongst Men stuff, and that's a good tier. You might have to fight Bo for the $1,000 tier. That might be a Bo only tier, but that might be the only tier. But that might not be the only tier Bo sheds that day when he finds out that that's the only thing that he can buy. But hopefully that's caught on a video by Claudia and it's posted all over Instagram, and that would be funny to look at. So Bo squish squish, hoping to see some love soon, man. But no, that's really cool, man. And for anyone that doesn't know, Omnibo, I've got a meal for free. And you're paying for it next week, man. For anyone watching doesn't know, Omnibo, it's Bo who is from Aussieverse, which is obviously, as we said earlier today, the other streaming site that shows Chinwag. So thank you always for Omnibo and the crew's support of Chinwag and ComX. I greatly appreciate it. Allows us to have these great moments. Now, one thing that I sort of guess I want to get back to as well, because that we haven't touched on. Now, this for all of you, because we're all ComX studio people. Ben does other things for other people, but that's okay. You know what I mean? But a lot of books, such as this, My Battle for Bustle, varying other people's books, are ComX studio related. Now, ComX studio supports, creatives all over Australia that have got stories to tell. So it's very exciting that the Gods Amongst Men trio and their colorist, who I would love to meet and shout out to, because coloring, lettering, editing, all of these things, graphic design, there's so many important elements that go into the creativity of a comic book that people sometimes forget about. So I try very hard to make people aware that there's so much more as well that goes into it. It's not just the idea and the writing and the artwork and the inking and stuff, because there's a lot of other little elements that go into it. So never forget all the creatives that participate in these things. But your time, I guess what I want to get to is the first person I met when I got my box of Battle for Bustle issue 1 many years ago was Sis. He reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, how you going? I'm Shane." And Shane's comics is actually an ad in the back page of Battle for Bustle issue 1 that I did. And at the time, it was just Comics Network. And it was just a website designed to allow people to know where comic book shops were. So we've all started at places, and comics has now gotten to this. It's now gotten to live streams, it's gotten to studios, it's gotten to a hard work and pair. Because when I talk about a pair, I don't just want to talk about Shane here. I also want to talk about Carey, his partner, as well, and the spirit that they add to the community and the support. There's a lot of effort and work that goes into this stuff. And I know that they're very, very excited and always excited to see people like the Mac brothers coming through with their first full comic book, getting Kickstarters off and running, bringing people like Ben together, like and working. And we're all in a community. And I'm very passionate about the comic book community, because I think sometimes that there's a great deal of, how shall I say, weird competitive stuff going on between creatives, and I don't get it. You should only be competitive with yourself, and you should learn from each other, and you should enjoy each other in the community, and you should build amongst spirit and supporting your family and your people that you like. And hey, you might get some people you don't like, but you know what? You get that everywhere in life. You know what I mean? You just suck it up, deal with it, and it's just still what it is. It's just you navigate the parts of life. But what I want to get to you guys about is, with comics, the community, how you felt being welcomed and stuff, and Ben yourself as well, man, because I don't think I've ever asked you, what are you feeling about your, specifically right now, the Mac brothers, your first time doing a Kickstarter, being part of comics? And Ben, when these gentlemen have answered, coming to you, I want to know how you feel about the Australian comic book community and the strength of it, and how you're feeling about what's going on. So I'll start with Josh and Aaron first. Comics, how you found the whole feel of the community and the support and stuff, gentlemen?
Can I start off on this one?
Sure.
Yeah. One thing that was sort of, and I kind of wanted to mention this. I'm not sure if I got to mention this in the past, but a real special shout out to Sis, and even before, another special person who actually dropped a comment was Gary Challoner. These were two people that when we were first, forming this comic idea, and we were going like, we're working with such sort of intense subject matter, and we were getting sort of rejections left, right, and center. That these, Gary was somebody who actually sat down and spoke to us and gave us that support and advice. And Sis, when we spoke to him about it, he welcomed us in with open arms, and he was the first and possibly the only, and that to me was like such an amazing thing, to be sort of like received in with open arms. And Sis went like, I don't really care about what you're writing about. If you're passionate about it and you want to make something good, obviously there's some rules like no NSFW, but otherwise, NSFW is fine, but no other stuff. But no, other than that, he was super welcoming, and then everybody else in the community helps out, in the comics group. Everyone's generally very willing to talk and to give advice and to help out with things. So it's nice to be where we are now. Like, I think especially from being really alone before. Yes. Yeah. Everybody's different, kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really nice to see, man. So you felt like, just with you saying there, like, you felt like you were out there on your own, weren't quite sure, but, like having a community of like-minded people has made you feel good, like, and supported and stuff, which is it's a beautiful thing to hear, man.
It's nice when somebody actually takes a chance on you, and so we hope to show that we're worth that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm very grateful to everybody we've been in contact with so far. Honestly, we only had one or two people that when we first started didn't get what we were doing, and then we met Ben, and we reached out. We met Gary and Sis, and you guys, and other people in the community like Bo and Aru and Bo's name? Sharif
At Aussieverse.
Yeah, I'm trying.
He's trying.
I'm not used to. I'm used to being the odd kid with the weird ideas, and in the other stuff that I've done, it's rare that we're accepted and embraced the way that the vast majority of the community has for us, and that's something I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, that's lovely, man. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad you found it welcoming, mate. That's like the best thing to have someone say. I enjoy meeting people as well, man, and enjoy the community as well. It's given me an awful lot too, and hopefully you guys continue to get heaps of involvement and enjoyment out of it as well, and all your success that comes. Ben, mate, you're a little bit more of a veteran than the Mak brothers. So how are you feeling about the Australian comic book community and scene at the moment, man? Like, I ask you this because you never shy of work, and lots of people. You're always working with different, people and that. How are you feeling? Is it feeling positive for you at the moment?
Yeah, there's a few linchpins like Shane that bring all these people together. I don't know what would be without. Sounds like a line, but I don't know what we'd be doing without these kind of linchpins that pull us all together. Yeah, but I'll be meeting Shane when he comes down to Melbourne too, which I'm really looking forward to, because all I see is the top half, the head side. I'd like to see what the rest of it is.
If he's got legs, or if he's like one of those Dalek type dudes that like cruises around with just a little torso on wheels, man. Like,
I've heard he does. So.
Or if he actually wears thongs like he's always depicted as wearing, or he could bust out a pair of 48-hole Doc Martens, man. The
That's
bottom half is very round, he reckons.
Like that.
Oh yeah.
That's your cube. That's an excellent idea too.
I'll give this to Shane when he comes down to Melbourne. Yeah.
This is cute.
Yeah, that is.
People like Shane, they're a linchpin for all of us that I think keep us all together and keep us talking, and keep the creativity, moving between us, and also shows like this as well. Keeps us all together, I'll say.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like if you can, you're always stronger together, mate. So, and you can do plenty of learning, and it's always good. Like when I hear stories about, my mate Gary Challoner, who's like helping you guys out, because he certainly helped me out. Like when I was I guess a couple of years ago, and he's been in. There's lots of things that just work in the community, man. You know what I mean? That are great, and don't forget though too, because comics is not just solely comics. I've said it before. The comic shop is available for you don't just have to be a comic studio produced comic book to be sold in the comic shop either. All right, so you can be anyone. at all, a creative. And if you want an outlet for your comic book to be sold, just reach out to Sis Comex and the emails and that sort of stuff, and just ask him. Doesn't hurt to ask a question. Shane at comex.net.au. Reach out to Shane and have a yarn. Let him know you got a comic book. You'd like to get it into an online shop. Just there's starts. Like it doesn't always have to be done on your own, like it used to be when I guess Ben and I were younger. You know what I mean? Like stuck in Townsville, didn't know anything. It was all snail mail back then, mate. You know what I mean? Stick it on a pigeon and hope it got back to you. It's I don't know if Ben's that old, but I probably just like admitted that I am. So Ben, you look much better than I do, so you probably were around for dial-up. So we'll say I'm there you go, comex.shop/stock with us. So check that out. It's all in the websites and all that, and that's for all your info. I'll give you all the details of everything that you need, and if it piques your interest. So look, I'm going to start winding down the show this evening. I'm feeling really good about where we've gone tonight with everything. How you feeling, Mac brothers? You feeling like your chinwag's gone pretty good? You happy with everything this evening?
Yeah, I had a great time.
It's well wagged.
Yeah, ripper. Now, I'm much older than you, Aaron, so I'm going to, if I heard well whacked, it would mean someone was dead by an Italian mafia man from my age, but I'm going to go with hopefully that's good. So thank you if it is meant to be that, and if it's the other one, you're not getting my address, email address, business card, or anything to do with me again. We'll be ending our relationship at the end of the show. But all in joke, don't be silly. To my mate Ben, mate, have you enjoyed your record number 3rd Chinwag?
Yeah, it is too, isn't it? That's amazing.
It is, mate.
I've got to say, Leigh, tonight you asked questions that hit nails on the right heads and went into the right places. So you do this well. I've just got to say that, Leigh. I watch every show and. Yeah, you do the right questions. You really probe.
Well,
I'll say that.
Man,
a better word. Sorry.
Yeah. No, we'll go with probe. Like
Okay.
I can live with probe.
In the right way. Yeah.
In the right way. As long as it's not like an alien abduction probe or something like that. I might have to write a sternly written email to. The mothership or something about that, but how we've discussed it, how you've articulated it, yes, thank you. Very grateful for those kind words. I do like Chinwag. The one thing that you can guarantee is that Chinwag will always be made with love. I do enjoy meeting new people, old friends, and people that just enjoy comic books and pushing on the medium in the right direction. It's all about, for me, positivity. It's all about, creativity, man. Saved my life, could save yours, could help you out of some pretty sticky situations, sometimes just having those moments, whether it's playing music or fencing or cooking or gardening, any of those things. Get in touch with yourself, feel whole, feel selfful, let all that negativity out, and you'll start feeling better about yourself. The world will make a little bit more sense, hopefully, when you get a little bit of time to yourself. I found that's worked for me. All right, so gentlemen, as I wind down the show, Ben Sullivan, you are a champion. Lovely to see you again. We'll be talking to you soon about things. The Mac brothers, I have met Aaron before and enjoyed it immensely. Josh, my first time meeting you, mate. I wish the pair of you and Ben every success with God amongst men at comex.studio, gam.comx.studio. Go to that site on the Kickstarter site, press notify. It launches next week. The next comic book in the Comic Studio Armada fleet craziness that it is the Comic Studio. The first time for these guys on their own Kickstarter. Go and support them. You can tell from tonight they're creative. They've got Ben with them. Go and support Ben. Support anyone drawing comic books. There's a whole heap of places you can go. You got Reverie Comics. You got Owner Indie, which is a comic place that you can pick up other comics. You've got Oz Comics. You got Cyclone Comics. You've got, man, you name it. You get on Google. Google is your friend. Have a look at Australian comic books. There's independent comic books. There's people publishing comic books everywhere, all over Australia. Every far word, on every coast. Every word that I can't possibly speak is covered by someone doing a comic book. And how you'll find them is on Comic Studio, because, you know, like you find comic local shops and you find people and they all come and they vibe and they all meet out and they reach out and they touch and they get jiggy with it, and in a creative sense, not some sort of weirdly anyway pickle. So on that note, Chinwag, I'm going to have 2 weeks off for the next couple of Tuesdays. Shane's got some big things to do with Melbourne, meeting the boys and, you know, going down to Melbourne. He's got some comic books to publish. He's got other shows that he's got to bring ahead. I'm just going to take 2 weeks off because I need to tend to my garden. And that's something that I like to do for my mental health, is just take a little bit of time. And I also am just about to finish all my work on the next couple of issues of the next series of Battle for Bustle. So I want to donate as much time as I can to that, so I can bring out my comic book series in the next month or two. Comics is all about mental health. Look after yourself. If you haven't spoken to someone in your family, your brothers, your sisters, your family, your friends, anyone out there that you just think, you know, oh, I should really ring out and, you know, talk to them, reach out, say good day, do it, because it may put a smile on their face, may put a smile on your face. Mental health is everything. Keep people safe. Look after your people. Now, also remember that I have something to quote you other than community is unity this evening. I've discovered that I'm reading a lot of things of late, and I like to leave these things with just food for thought. So as I leave you with community is unity, and see you on April the 16th for Louis Joyce in the house, I'm going to leave you with this. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Find out what it is that remains. And that was by Ramana Maharishi. All right, be good. See you April 16th. Thank you to the God Amongst Men creative team. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys.
Thank you.
This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop. Check out comics.cx for all things comics and find out what comics is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.